Okay, so I'm going to explain how we did the soil layer lab. So looking at this picture, what you end up doing is you get a jar, you have a jar with a lid, and you put fill the jar halfway with soil, the other half with water, and you put the lid on and you shake it like vigorously for like 5 minutes. And what ends up happening is it settles, and like the heavier particles are going to settle first. So sand is the biggest particle. So if we go down here to this image, we got sand is right here. We don't have any gravel in here. So we got sand is the biggest, and then silt is like this tiny little speck. And then at the scale, clay is invisible. So clay usually floats up in the water until it's taken a couple of days to settle, and then you get a layer of clay. So going back to this picture, what ends up happening is you get these layers in the jar. I don't know if you can see. Can't see very good in this one, the layers in the jar, but you can see it in that picture. So what we end up doing is we measure those layers using a ruler. And that is why here, this is going to be what your test is going to look like. You'll have like layers in this picture, and then you have a ruler right next to it, and then you measure those layers, right? Well, what do you do with that? You enter it in this diagram. So say the total amount of soil in there is 6 centimeters, okay? And then you're gonna measure the amount of sand at the bottom. And you're gonna be like, okay, how much sand? Maybe 3 centimeters. Oops. And then the amount of silt, say 1 centimeter. And the amount of clay, if this is 3, 4, this is going to be 2, because these 3 numbers need to add up to 6, because 6 is your total. All right, the soil bucket was like, where did you get the soil? Like we had buckets in the back here, so like A, B, C, D, or whatever. You can use if you're stuck at home, you can do this at home, and you can test your soil at home. You can be like home bucket, right? So in order to get your percentage, you're going to take your centimeters of sand and divide it by total centimeters. So 3 divided by 6 times 100 is going to be your percentage of sand. Well, I made these numbers really easy. 3 divided by 6 is 50%. The sand is 50%. Let me use my calculator really quick for the next one. So 1 divided by 6 is going to be 17%. You times it by 100 and you get 0.1666666. If you times that by 100, you're going to get 16.6. So we're going to round that to 17%. Well, then these 3 numbers have to add up to 100, right? So if you have 50 and you have 17, that's 67. So you get 33% clay. And then you're going to take those percentages, stick them in here, and you're going to figure out what texture you have, right? So if you have 50% sand, here's sand, 50%, and then we had 33% clay, 50% sand, 30% clay, that's a sandy clay loam. So then over here, you're going to put sandy clay loam. There's another video about how to figure out the soil texture triangle. So on the test, which is actually today, you're going to be getting something that looks almost exactly like this, but it shows I insert like these layers of sand, silt, and clay at different levels, depending on which test you get. And then you determine your percentages of sand, silt, and clay. And then is it a good soil for farming? Well, the good soil for farming is right here in the middle, this loam. So if it's too sandy, it probably needs some silt. If it's too silty, it probably needs some sand. If it has too much clay, you can actually add a lot of organic matter. So that's kind of how that works.